I'm pleased to be joined today by the famous YouTuber and ACCA helper, James Wright, and we are talking today about options. At the strategic professional stage, if you want to complete your ACCA qualification, you have to choose to do 2 of the 4 optional papers. So James, you're an ACCA qualified member. Which 2 exams did you choose and why?
Well, Tom, the 2 I picked were Advanced Taxation and Advanced Audit and Assurance for me.
And why did you pick those, James?
So at the time when I was studying, I was working in practice dealing with accounts and taxation. So Advanced Taxation was the first one I went, I work in that field, I should be selecting it on there. Then I had 1 from 3 to choose from, and I thought, hey, I might go work in audit in the future. So that was my sort of thought process as to, I didn't mind the foundation paper for it, and then I thought, right, I might work it in the future, I'll go and give audit and assurance a go. Plus, a few of my colleagues also did advanced audit and assurance, which swayed me.
I think there's a couple of things there that I'd like to pick up on. First of all, you referred to the fact that you'd done the lower level paper and you liked it. Is that right?
Well, I didn't mind audit. It was okay. It was a sort of process base that I could follow going through the tuition. So I thought, hey, if I did end up working in that area, I didn't mind the first exam for it. So that was one of the reasons for selecting it. And to be honest, I wasn't as keen on the other 2 as well.
Sure. Because, I mean, when you look at, audit, and when you look at tax, and when you look at financial management, they have the equivalent skills paper exams, don't they? And I think students should look at their result and look at how they liked that exam. I think that's one of the influencing factors.
Oh, definitely. It's going to be a notch up, hence the word advanced on it. You've really got to get your teeth into it as the books are going to get thicker. So those late nights, early starts, it's got to be a subject area that you're keen to get involved with.
Now, the other thing that you referred to is the fact that you were in practice. Now, anybody who ultimately wants a practicing certificate, anybody who wants to become the audit partner, will need to do the AAA exam, won't they?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's one of the criterias, along with the level of it and time experience working in a particular firm and size.
In fact, there's a little nuance because it means that you also have to choose to do the SBR as a UK variant and the AAA as a UK variant. When I was doing ACCA many years ago, we didn't have this choice. I ended up doing AAA as a compulsory, as was ATAX as a compulsory, Advanced Financial Management as a compulsory, and we didn't have this advanced performance measurement. What do you know about advanced performance measurement? What type of student, what kind of reason would you go for that paper, do you think?
Well, first of all, it's advanced performance management on there, and it's really a process of going through the same sort of things you would see in PM, the old F5 exam. You can have everything from budgets to looking at variances. It's going into a lot more detail. It's a very marmitey exam. You are either going to really love it and go through it, get a really top mark. But if you have a look on ACCA's website, the pass rate is usually floating around the 30 to 32%. So a really tricky paper along with audit to pass as well at the option level.
It's written, isn't it? I suppose there's more writing, generally speaking, in advanced performance management and AAA than there is in advanced tax and AFM. Is that right? That's a fair comment to say, isn't it?
Yes, to some extent, but for all 4 option papers, it's still the bread and butter of you're going to have to do some calculations, and then you have to explain as if you're in a professional environment to a client what those figures mean. You can't simply think to yourself, oh, it's advanced taxation, I can just get over the line by just calculating. You're still going to have to do words, and the same is the flip side for APM. Yes, you're going to have to describe, But you're also going to have to do some calculations, learn the pro formas, and work on that exam technique that you've introduced into your life throughout your ACCA journey.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues about advanced tax, of course, is, and this podcast will be listened to by students throughout the world, is there's often a local variant, isn't there? And if that local variant for tax is sat, often that's only sat twice a year. So that becomes another little minor factor. You picked up on friends, you picked up on colleagues who had travelled down a similar path. And I think that's honest, and I think that's influential, isn't it? We need to pick up in making these decisions. You're listening to this podcast, you're going on the ACCA website, and you're listening to those people around you as to what they've enjoyed as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you're likely to have a mentor at work who will sort of maybe encourage you down a particular path, or maybe you've got a study buddy who you've been working your way through your ACCA journey, through the exams, who may also sway you on there. The bottom line is that you're the one that's going to be sitting the exam. So if you're going to be doing an exam when you've got the option to pick it and you don't like it, that's where you've really got to do your due diligence and research to work out which one is best for you.
Which one is best for you? Exactly. Students sometimes ask me, Tom, what would you do? And I say, well, it's not about me. It's about you. You're the one giving up the time. You're the one making this decision. And I don't think there's a wrong decision to make if it's an informed decision.
Definitely. And some of the other factors that every ACCA student has a different journey. And there's the 7-year rule, which when you're picking up on your options, you've also got to consider, which is once you first started your first strategic paper, there's going to be a cut-off that you need to complete all the option papers, along with your SBR and SBL, which you've already done at this point, most likely, within 7 years. So that's another factor just to go away from this recording and have a look at to see if it's going to impact on you.
28 sittings. Yeah, 7 years. 4 sittings a year. That's 4 7s are 28. Is that right?
You're good on there, Tom.
Now,
but it's likely that potentially someone's had a family, or
yes,
maybe they've moved countries. So, again, reach out to someone who's a potential tutor in these areas for advice as well. That's another factor on there as well.
So you alluded to there about the order in which you do the exams, because ACCA is extraordinarily flexible. A student starting out at the strategic professional stage can do any of the exams first. My advice that I give them in terms of options is that if you're going to do the AAA option, I say you should do that immediately after your SBR because of the linkage between the two exams. The other piece of general advice that I give, and I sometimes feel a bit guilty or a bit compromised because I teach SBR, is that they should do SBR first going into the strategic professional. I'll be curious to validate, or be curious for your comments on that, James.
I think you're spot on there, Tom, to be honest with you. The majority of students, I recommend for them to do SBR by itself. It's also that jump up that we're now reaching those strategic papers, the expectation goes up, the detail goes up, and SBR first is what I always recommend. Then, if you are going to select Advanced Audit Assurance, jumping onto that, because SBR will be that solid foundation that you definitely need to have in your armoury going into that Advanced Audit Assurance exam. SBL is the one where it sort of floats around. You sometimes see students leaving it till last, but again, it depends on the sort of situation that the student finds themselves in. I mean, with 4 sittings a year now, I would just be doing one paper at a time, unless you're going to get caught by the 7-year rule, or potentially if you've got pressures maybe from work.
I agree with that. I think the standard starting point is one exam at a time. And it's interesting that if students are doing a apprenticeship scheme in the UK, I think they have to do their SBL last as their kind of capstone of that, because it perhaps draws on everything that you've done. It's the wider case study paper, but that's a compulsory paper. SBR's a compulsory paper. SBL's a compulsory paper, and we have been talking about some of the things that you should be taking into account in making your choices. I have been joined by James Wright today. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you very much, Tom, for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Good, and I hope this is a useful podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope we will speak again soon.